everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Jesus Is. My name is Pat Gunning. I'm the youth minister at Sacred Heart Church in San Diego in Ocean Beach, California. And this Sunday's gospel, Jesus gives us a parable of a sower that went out to sow seeds and what happens to each seed as it falls on different kind of soil. So let me read the gospel real quick, the shortened version, before I get into it. It says, "A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured them. Other seeds fell on rocky ground where they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprang up, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and produced grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears, let him hear." So we all know the different landscapes of which Jesus speaks. We know the beaten path of life. We've been through the rocky patches of life. We've been scratched and cut by the thorns of life, and we've planted our roots deep into sacred soil of life that grows and feeds us to become a harvest. These are the landscapes of the heart. This is what the parable is really talking about. These are the landscapes of the heart, ours and also others that we've met or are in relationship with. We're rarely just one type of soil. We're all four. The four soils are descriptive of how we live and relate to others and to God. Jesus' interpretation of the parable, when he tells what happens to the seeds, describes the consequences of each kind of life. So on one end, the parable allows us to reflect on our life and what kind of landscape our heart has in receiving God's seeds, aka his word. And this is the kind of traditional way of reading this parable, right? What kind of soil are you? However, this is a very human reaction, and we like to make it all about us, but God calls us back to glorify him in everything and to see from his view of things. As with all good parables, this parable is more about the sower than the soil. Just as the parable of the prodigal son is not really about the son, but about the father, this parable is not really about the soil, but about the sower. Think about it. What kind of farmer would plant seeds on rocky soil or on thorns or on a public pathway? It's just bad farming. I'm not even a farmer, but I can tell you that's bad farming. The farmer would plant it on good soil every single time. But the parables offer us a glimpse into God's worldview and allow us not just to look, but to see, to not just listen, but to understand, right? Jesus says this later in the gospel about why he gives parables in the first place. This parable reveals the surprising generosity of God. God is never outdone in his generosity. The sower sows the same seeds in all four soils with equal labor, with equal hope, with equal generosity. The sower does so without evaluation of the soil's quality or potential. There's no soil that's left unsown. No ground is declared undeserving of the sower's seeds. This is not about the quality of the dirt, again. It's about the quality of God, the divine sower. We want to judge what kind of dirt we are, and yet God simply wants to sow his life into ours. No life, no person, no soil is left unsown. Every part of our life has been sown with the seeds of God, and you know what happens to seeds. Given the right conditions, apple seeds become apples, peach seeds become peaches, God seeds become God, right? This is ultimately our calling, is to partake in the eternal glory of God, to be a part of the Trinity and the communion of the three persons of the Trinity. May our hearts be ever turned to God's generous heart and allow him to change the landscape of our hearts and to allow the soil, the seeds that he is planting in our heart to come to full fruition. I hope you have a really blessed week. God bless.